Hey everybody, Quantum here with a bit of an unfortunate video today. It is Wednesday, May 29th, 2024, and earlier today, this message came in from Pavel, who is the developer of Pixelborn. For those of you that don't know, that's the online client that we use when we showcase Lorcana gameplay on my channel and many others. But he did receive a notice today from Disney representatives asking him to kind of cease the support of Lorcana on Pixelborn. And he says here that he would respect the request when it came in. And as a result, Pixelborn will no longer be supported for Lorcana as of June 16th, 2024. So that's just about 2 or 3 weeks from me posting, from this message coming through, from me posting this video. This is a very unfortunate announcement. As you can see here, he says his heart is shattered to pieces. And honestly, if Pavel did an above and beyond remarkable job at making Disney Lorcana work in Pixelborn, because I've played official TCG clients that don't work nearly as well as what he's done as an unofficial client, from official clients that have not worked as well as this unofficial client. So when he says he poured his heart and soul into this, I think you can understand, yeah, he really did. And beyond the community that uses Pixelborn, beyond Pavel himself, who's again poured so much into this project, I think that this is overall a loss and a very bad decision from Disney. I can understand, from a financial standpoint, from an IP integrity standpoint, and all those things, why they might want to shut this down. But I think this is going to do more harm than good for the card game and for the Disney community in general. And I can explain some reasons why. What I want to do, though, is before I get started into going over some of those reasons, is if you do have the capacity to make sure that this message is shared to people who like to play Lorcana, watch online gameplay, play on Pixelborn, just make sure people are aware of this. I know a lot of people are taking to Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that to let Disney know, or let Ravensburger know, that the owner of the Lorcana IP, I guess, even though it's through Disney, that they're not happy with this decision. And even if there's an official client coming, something like that should probably be in place before you take this down. And again, I'll explain the reasons why. So in an effort to not bore you to death, let's switch over to some actual Pixelborn gameplay, as we won't have it around for too much longer apparently, and discuss some of those reasons. Alright, I'm going to try my best to be as concise as possible. So going through the points here, the first point is obviously the availability. Not a lot of people have access to fully invest in physical product at Lorcana. For the people who watch my channel, according to the YouTube statistics, most of you are between the ages of 25 and 34, most are male, and most are from Germany, Canada, or the United States. These are developed countries in an age demographic where life is very, very busy. You're starting a family, you're developing your professional career, you have a lot of other responsibilities like owning a home, owning a car, making sure your bills are paid, getting groceries for your family, which, takes a lot of time sometimes. There are a lot of other responsibilities that you have to deal with that make going to a card shop and playing the physical card game very difficult. And why that matters, if you're somebody who wants to play the game in a little bit more of a competitive setting, you know that you need to practice. You know that you need to grind out games, you need to test different decks, you need to understand the meta, how different cards work, interactions work. And it's very hard to not only get the time to do that yourself, but get the group of people needed at your local level to do that as well. That is what an online client like Pixelborn solves for this game. It gives you access to basically the whole world and the ability to fulfill all of those things. You can test different decks. You can build whatever you want without needing every little piece right away. And you can have access to other people who are likely competitive minded. You can connect with people online. You are not restricted to that physical local space. So shutting down Pixelborn is a big detriment, and it's going to hurt the game overall, because you're going to see a lot of people just straight up not play the game anymore. There's already been a lot of Reddit comments and Twitter comments around this. So that's definitely one major blow for the game without Pixelborn existing anymore. The next point is, again, the investment in the physical card game. I, for one, am somebody who never would have played this game coming from the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is a very different kind of game, if it wasn't for Pixelborn. I really enjoyed seeing how the game played on that online client, being able to test different cards, to the point where I invested multiple thousands of dollars. Again, if you guys have watched my deck profiles, I do them in person when I have the cards, right? Like I had all the things from set 3, from set 2, from set 1, and I have a case of Ursula's Return on order, which I don't even know if I want to open now at this point, because again, if I don't know what I want to build, if I'm forced to say I have to go to locals and grind out games and find out what I like to play and how my deck does against the rest of the meta, it's like I don't have the time for that. I don't have the time to set aside 3 and 4 hours once a week, let alone multiple times a week, in order to do that. And what an online client like Pixelborn allowed you to do was every night I could hop on and get a few matches in. Even if I was only able to play for 30 minutes, that's one match maybe, or 2 matches, or maybe 1 or 2 hours and get in a couple rounds. Like I was able to develop that understanding of the game and the metagame and see what I liked, see what worked, knew what I wanted to invest in. And to the point where I just, the game was well designed enough that I wanted to invest in everything, and hence why I bought boxes and cases and a lot of singles to own every piece of the set. But now it's like, what's the point? If I am buying these cards and I don't know what's going to be good, I'm going to put together a deck, and if I am able to return to locals or for a competitive event, it's like, I don't know what's good or not if I can't test it out. So why am I bothering investing in this game? I'm probably just going to quit. Maybe that's God sending me a sign saying I should quit. I don't know. But that's another thing that I think is going to really hurt this game and the development of this game, because you've seen people, like good players on Pixelborn, if you watch any other YouTube channels or streamers, where they may have just been online players before, but they would never have gotten into this game if it wasn't for Pixelborn. And then they go out and they buy the physical cards because they were like, yeah, I like the game, I want to go play at the local store for the set championships or whatever. And they've actually gone through and invested in the game. You're going to lose all of that without the availability of Pixelborn now. And in an effort to keep this video concise, like I mentioned, the final thing I'll say is you're going to definitely see a dramatic drop off in content and the quality of content about this game. While there are a lot of in-person recordings that are very good, right, that happen for this game, you guys know if you've watched the massive difference between watching an online client and watching a physical recording of a tabletop setting. The online client is easier to understand, it's easier to follow, it's more clear, it's more concise, whereas an online tabletop recording can be harder to follow. People trying to talk over it can be a little confusing at times. There could be multiple interactions that's harder to keep up with. The recordings can sometimes be fuzzy where it's hard to make out the card. It's just, it's not really conducive to being online content, whereas an online client is a lot easier to follow and just watch, I guess, in general. So it's really unfortunate that Pixelborn won't be supported anymore for these reasons. And ultimately, I do think it is a big mistake from Disney and Ravensburger. As a business major myself, someone who's been in the workforce in a business setting for several years, there's a point where you should understand when something that's maybe taking something of yours but actually helping you in the long run, and especially when it's tied to a community, is actually more beneficial to let it remain existing rather than trying to shut it down. And again, whether or not there's an official online client coming, which would be great, I think you don't want to limit people's access to this game earlier on, because you're going to lose a lot of people in the short span of time, assuming it's a short span of time between Pixelborn being shut down and an official client being released, if there even is one. If there is no official client released, you will definitely permanently lose a lot of players. As I mentioned earlier, my hype for this game has absolutely just died down, because as somebody who can't commit to hours a week to go to a local store, what's the point of me playing anymore? What's the point of me collecting these cards if I know I can't play? If I at least can keep up with the meta in an online client, I know that when I do return to a local store, if I show up for a competitive event, I at least feel confident that I know what I'm doing. Whereas if I'm just buying cards and just holding them and trying to put together a deck and not knowing how to play the deck against other decks and against the meta, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to just randomly show up to an event or something and try to play. Like, what's the point in that? I need to constantly be practicing, right? So a lot of people are going to fall into that boat, I believe. And in the long run, I think this is going to hurt the game way, way more than letting this client exist. And what's even crazy is, like, again, if you're working for Disney as a business person, you're just like, you have this guy. Yes, he has a Patreon, he gets support, but he's doing you and your company and your IP, your product, your game a huge service. You don't have to do anything, and the community and Pavel in particular is doing all of this work for you essentially for free. And it's providing you a massive boost to the recognition, the accessibility, and we all know all the accessibility issues that Lorcana has had. But yeah, for your game, and you're just shutting that all down. Again, I know from a corporate perspective, it's probably what everybody understood had to happen, but honestly, you could have let this exist. And it's really disappointing to see that this is happening now. And full disclosure, everybody, I don't depend on this game for revenue or, content to live my life or anything. Everything I do on this channel is for fun. I do have a full-time job. I have a full family that I have to take care of. So I don't really have a vested interest in saying like, oh my God, we need to save Pixelborn and whatnot. It's honestly just because I'm a person who has grown up loving trading card games. I was never a super sociable person. I never used to like going to parties and all that stuff in university. I liked just playing games, thinking through things, strategizing. That's what gave me joy. And I really liked Lorcana for that. I thought it was a really well-designed game. And it's just a shame to see this go away, because you will see top content creators, influencers, if you want to call them that, disappear from this game. I don't count myself in that category, but I know people like Zepha. I loved watching his videos. They're so funny, so creative, and he's such a good player. Benable Harka, the same thing, right? And a lot of other people. Will they continue to create content for this game? Maybe not in the same capacity as they have before, right? And honestly, it's the gameplay that people want to see, and it's the most interesting. It's what I love commentating about. Again, if you watch my videos, and I may not be the best at it, but I like to try to break down my interactions and explain to you guys why I did something. Maybe I misplayed. Why did I misplay? What could have been a better line of play? You're going to lose a lot of that, because again, it's hard to do that in a tabletop setting, right? Where you can really break that down in an online client. So again, I'm starting to ramble, so hopefully you're still with me. But if you're not, or sorry, if you are, obviously you've made it this far. Thank you again for watching. And again, if you could share this video, again, maybe you don't even need to share it, because I'm sure if you're watching this, you and anybody in your circle probably know that Pixelborn is now announced to be closing. But yeah, it's really unfortunate. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you again for watching. Quantum is out.